how to fix index coverage issues for WordPress server errors for typical includes files or for theme files. Google Search Console index coverage report is showing server errors. In this video session, I'm going to show you the best practices for this, in fact, very confusing server error. It's a very confusing troubleshooting methods, because a subscriber of RankYa is saying, you know what, these are PHP files Search Console is showing errors for. And this value subscriber is not the only one. I had few different subscribers saying, you know what, we're facing the same issue. What is the best practice? How do we fix it? Because for typical includes files, you cannot validate fix by following all these options. Because if you go test robots and you're thinking, well, let me highlight this. Let's try and request this URL and say, okay, let's test it. It's allowed. That means Google is allowed. You can fetch as Google. When you do, you may end up seeing not found, because Google shouldn't see what's on this PHP file, right? At that moment, you may be thinking, well, how do I fix that? Now, I can try to simplify for you in terms of how you can fix it, but doing so will actually take at least half an hour. Instead, I decided to create this video and show you exactly what I would do if a valued client hired me and was facing the same issue. This is what I would do. I'd go to the website, WordPress site. I'd say to myself, okay, let me go and see the sitemap structure. And if I'm using Yoast, which is a popular SEO plugin, the latest version, the sitemap is hidden under this question mark. So that's the parent sitemap. I would go and see each sitemap that is submitted to Google, and I'd ask myself, is that URL Search Console is complaining about, is it within the sitemap? Because you may not be using Yoast sitemap. You may be using many different plugins. And at that moment, some plugins may create wrong URL structure. That happens. If that's the case, this is the first place that I would look. I would then go, I need to use the old version, but whether you're using the old version or the new one, because it depends when you're watching this video session, I would go to sitemaps functionality in Search Console, and I would triple check which sitemaps are submitted, and then make sure they are working properly. So therefore, all these URLs that typically includes files or theme files are not blurted out in the XML sitemap. If they are, then you have to make sure they are removed. So that's the first thing that I would do. Then what I would do is this. I would check robots.txt file to see what is there, what Google is allowed and what it is not allowed. Because it could be the case somehow that if you tweak this wrong and then allowed Google, telling Google, you know what, you're allowed to see that URL, which is an internal file that Google shouldn't see, then you would remove that directive from robots.txt file. Now, what if you didn't do anything there, everything looks okay, and you know those URLs, index coverage issues saying server errors, they are not in robots.txt file. What would I do next? What I would do is this. I would copy the URL structure and request the folder itself to say to myself what is shown to me here. Because it may be the case that I'll show you, because you'll see many different. Let's do this. Let's search Google, because then you'll understand the best practices. Okay, you can see here. You see what happened here? I just need to show you these examples, right? I've used advanced search operators to quickly find a website to show you. That's what you need to do as well. You need to go and visit your website to see if Search Console is complaining about a file that's within includes folder, then go and request the folder itself. Because if you can see something like this, I'll show you how you can fix it as well. You do that through .htxs file. You can say a directive like this, as in disallow directory browsing. Depending on your web hosting company, you may need to use the help section to find how you can disallow directory browsing. And the fact is, if you're seeing something like this on your website, this is actually a security issue. That means no one, as in general public, should not see what's here. Make sense? Or let's go and see the content folder to see if anything is shown here. No, it isn't. That's okay. Make sense? But these shouldn't be seen, because if a general public can see this, that's where Google is picking this up. How you fix it? You just use .htxs directives for Apache servers. Because once you include this directive in .htxs file, I'll show you that on your web host. Go to File Manager, go to Document Root. It's a hidden file, .file, and there is a .htxs file in here. I couldn't see it because I need to show hidden files. Now I go into public_HTML and you see .htxs file. Right click, download a backup. If something goes wrong, you can upload the backup. Then I would right click, edit, and just insert this, what I've just highlighted for you. Okay, pause this video. Once you insert that, that means if Googlebot requests themes folder that it shouldn't, includes folder that it shouldn't, then it's gonna say, you know what, I'm not allowed to see what's there. Thus, no more server errors. You can easily press on, validate, fix. Now, that's what I would do at this moment. Now, what if you've tried this and it's still not working? Then, what you can do, because this is another option, but this option that I'm going to show you using robots.txt file is the last resort, because you need to find out, do these troubleshooting methods to see if your site is, doing all the right things. Or else you'll end up seeing errors all the time because your website is not optimized. That's why it's smart that if you have the finances to optimize your website properly, and don't settle with cheap SEOs, because cheap SEO is an expensive SEO, because they never understand what SEO is. Because trying to get an SEO guru to fix these issues for you, there is not many. But with RankYa expertise, you actually have options, because I try to simplify a complex subject for you. Because to be an SEO, you need to understand what all these are. And most SEO gurus, they just do title and keywords and that's it. So let's get back to fixing that issue, because at that moment you need to then say, okay, you know what, I try and request includes file and I can't see directory browsing, so that therefore you don't need to use .htaccess file, so that option is out of the question for you, right? So then you need to then use Robots.txt directives. If you're not seeing Robots.txt under public_HTML, if you're not seeing that, then create a file and call it Robots.txt. Okay? And then once you create that, okay, I'll remove all this to simplify your learning, right? Let's say, just copy this. I'll keep this video as short as possible and say disallow and give that folder structure and just put a asterisk. Now, I'll show you another example. Let's go to themes, because you may actually be having this issue as well. Or it may be the case, it could be Search Console is complaining for themes folder. All you need to ask yourself at that moment is, you know what, do I really want to rank for themes for files, right? And you don't. And for that fact, you just disallow. Okay, so this is the last step of troubleshooting, because right now you have the knowledge. Pause this video and rewatch it, because there is no other solution for WordPress includes or typical theme files. Index coverage report shows as server errors. Now let's try and understand what's going on here with, okay, you don't have to use Googlebot, but you can actually, okay, do use it, why not? Here you're saying user agent, if you're named Googlebot, then I disallow you to request these URLs. Next line does the same thing. User agent, if your name is Googlebot, I disallow you to request this folder. If you put an asterisk, then you're saying what's within the folder. Then the next line, you don't have to use the next line, but this is what I would recommend that you do. Then you say user agent. Asterisk means all the others. You say, if you're a user agent who obeys Robots.txt exclusion protocol, then whichever user agent you are, I disallow you to request what's within WP-includes folder. The first / and the second / means folder. If you put an asterisk, you're saying what's within the folder. The next line does the same thing for typical themes folder. You can safely include this in robots.txt file. Save changes. Right now, I've shown you all the possible troubleshooting scenarios for server errors 5xx for WordPress includes file or typical theme files. Now, let's right click, let's edit that again. I'll show you an optimization technique, and you can use this. You can say allow and use this for .js and .css files, because Google should be able to request them to better understand how your site looks, because that's what it does, so it can rank it better. And it does that through you can fetch as Google to see how Google is actually seeing it. Makes sense? So let's look at a typical file. So I'll show you. Let's say SEO tutorial for beginners. There's a URL apparently. I requested fetch as Google, and this is what Google is saying. This is how Googlebot saw that page, and this is how people see it. What you want to make sure they are very similar. And some pages are blocked by robots.txt file that is not within my control, because I'm using plugins and ads and all that stuff, right? At that moment, can I fix these? No, because they are external. The only way for me to fix these is remove that functionality from my website, which I don't want to do. Okay, let's not go in depth to see. I've just shown to you an important element in terms of allow. You should always make Google, using robots.txt, allow this, okay? Because if you don't have this, then for WordPress sites, Google seems to have problems seeing certain CSS and JS files sometimes. And that's the last thing that you want. Okay, so let's wrap it up once again. The troubleshooting method. Check your XML sitemaps, particularly the ones you've submitted to Google, to see if they are functioning properly, if the URL structures within it is all good, and it's not includes or theme folders or files. Once you identify that as okay, then it's good to go. But what if you end up seeing those funny URLs here? Then remove them, and then you can validate fix. And what if XML sitemaps are all good? Then what you need to do is go and see admin folder, includes folder, even theme folder, to see what happens when you try and request it on your website. If you end up seeing a URL structure like the one I've shown you before on a different site, then you need to use .htxs file for Apache servers. Now, what if you're not using Apache server? What if you're using Windows server? Then your web hosting help section will show you how to disallow directory browsing one way or another. Okay, let's remove that. I'll show you. When I remove that, look what happens on my website. Let's remove that. Let's try to find another one. No, it's not there. Let's save changes. I think my server setup automatically disallows that. As you can see, but I just made sure by using robots.txt file, Google or anyone else shouldn't access that. Make sense? But if you're seeing files there, that's what Google is seeing, and it's trying to index it, even if that is not in your sitemap, because Google follows links. If it sees a link on a page, it's going to try and request it. For includes files, it can't request it because WordPress doesn't show that. It's an includes file. So then you got to make sure one way or another, close that security hole, because that's a security hole on your WordPress site. Once you close that hole, you should see something like this, page not found. Then go and validate fix. In fact, the best practice, once you validate fix, then you should actually be using robots.txt file anyway for includes, because if Google is seeing that, it may be in your best interest to say, you know what, I don't want to see those errors, so therefore you just disallow Google in the future, because they may come up. If you close the hole, it shouldn't come up. Now, once you close the hole, then you can go validate fix. What if you didn't face that problem on your setup? Then the last option is use Robots.txt directives, telling Google, you know what, I disallow you to access those include folders. Remember, for WordPress, you can safely disallow Google trying to request those URLs, because they have nothing to do with your Google rankings. But if you're seeing what's within includes folder, not only that's a security hole, that's also affecting your Google rankings. That's why index coverage and Googlebot is trying to help you to show you problems and issues with your WordPress site. and now you know how to fix them. If you benefited from this video session, please do give it a like and share it, and I'll talk with you in the next video session.